I'm Matt the Comedy Guy, and welcome to a new actual thing of me covering videos. And this is the time where I cover something of comics that's never been done before. Well, more accurately, never been done in video form before. Today, we want to cover actual comic book writers and artists. People behind the comics who unfortunately don't have good enough ways to make a story and just make either are completely out of control what they previously were, or just straight up someone who is not entirely good when it comes to what's going on in the story. Or it can be both, or it could be other cases. In this case, it's someone who not only just has their writing completely nonsense, with the point where in a story that they write won't make sense to fit in their writing, and someone who's confirmed to be a straight up person who had a unfortunate reasoning for claiming certain something that wasn't really his to start with, but what he wrote about in that story. This is Ken Penders, also known as the guy who's behind the Archie Sonic comics. Now, I know Sonic the Hedgehog's familiar. I am familiar with himself. I know Archie comics familiar. So when Archie Comics decided to make comics of Sonic, I was very surprised to find out that they made a 290 issue series spanning other issues of other series, and basically almost entirety being a long-running series of comics based on a video game. Now that might sound very impressive, but it is impressive. However, one of the people I just mentioned, Ken Penders, not only is he just has an unfortunate way in how his characters need to be done in their stories, but he also is responsible for the most unfortunate, most worst thing that ever happened by the people behind the games themselves. It was by knowing about it, plus a little video of someone else who mentioned the matter. Hell, let's begin. Where do we start? Well, first of all, let's just start with the fact that, like many writers of comics, his earliest issues were kind of interesting, but not that important. Until he wrote a character that became like an evil Sonic called Scourge. Evil Sonic. How original? Well, not really. It's not an original idea. There's been many times where it's been a mechanical Sonic. It's been one time in another version of Sonic in the comics where it's been a super form, and so on and so forth. Well, this is not really new, but what was new to Scourge was the idea, was the way the concept was happening. See, Scourge wasn't just an evil Sonic. No. He came from a backwards form of the Sonic universe. See, the Sonic universe in the Archie comics was called Mobius. In this universe of Scourge was called Anti-Mobius. Sadly, we see this thing truly shine much later in the series. there's been a story, not really written by him, but let's face it, has been written by him, where Scourge has disguised as actual Sonic. You can probably guess what happens next. Or that entire thing with Sally Acorn. Or other unfortunate things he has behind his sleeve. But nothing compares Ken Penders to Sonic Live. That's right, Sonic Live. What I've noticed is one of the worst stories of Sonic the Hedgehog. And one of the worst stories that this guy has ever done. Sonic Live is, you guessed it, Sonic in the real world, interacting with real kids. It's like, what is this? Of course, Sonic entering into the real world is nothing new now, but this was so random and bizarre. You think you know by now why people don't entirely like this guy. Oh, but it gets more interesting. Introducing the way he saw Sonic Chronicles and the Dark Brotherhood. The game, because of him, is no longer canon. I'm thinking, why you ask? Well, there's this thing of echidnas called the Nocturnus clan. And they have a leader, and you guessed it, she's an echidna. So you might have guessed. He did the impossible by claiming that those characters were his. It's like, no, it's like, dude, you don't own the characters of Sonic Chronicles. Sega is the one who's came up with the Sonic characters before you did. It's like, Ken Penders, you had a contract to agree with Sega to do these type of comics. You don't own the Sonic characters. You just own the comic rights to them. So Sega could have won this, but of course Ken Penders had to win. It's like, okay, Ken, but don't you find it a little odd that you didn't get in trouble for this? Anyway, that's it for now. Thankfully, this whole Ken Penders situation doesn't continue on further. And hopefully you actually know what this is. I'm Matt the Cow Guy. See you on the 8th, which was the last video this year. Bye.